I think is the most egregious example within Europe of where I think multiculturalism has gone wrong. Let's look at Germany. The German constitution has a requirement, I think a terribly flawed requirement, to respect a person's religion. And I just want to give a couple of quick examples of what that has meant. There was a woman called Zainab, who was a German woman. Her parents had come from Algeria when she was a child. And she got married to a man who was extremely violently abusive. And there was no question about the evidence. He was convicted of beating her and beating her child. And in Germany, you have to be separated for 2 years before you can be granted a divorce. If you want to get it sooner, and obviously she did, she wanted this disgusting man out of her life, you have to go to court. So she went to court. She presented the evidence, no one disputed the evidence, his lawyers didn't dispute the evidence that he'd been violent. The judge, who was a female German judge, came back and said, well, I've looked at this case, and there's no question this man is abusive. But equally, the Constitution requires that I look at your religion. And I've been reading the Quran and the Hadith, and she read out the passage from the Hadith, which actually recommends domestic violence if your wife gets too uppity. And the judge effectively said, well, that's your culture. So for that reason, I'm declining your request. Have a good marriage. This is not an exception. This is not rare in Germany at the moment. There have been a number of so-called honor killings in which women have expressed the freedom that I have taken for granted all my life, to choose my own partner, to behave in any way I want to sexually, and in which the woman's relatives conspired in a premeditated way to murder her. And the verdicts were reduced to manslaughter, and the judge in one case said, I'm doing this because I understand that this woman violated your Anatolian moral precepts. The problem with multiculturalism is it puts nice liberal people into alliance with the most profoundly reactionary parts of immigrant communities against the very people we should be siding with. Women who want to live their lives their way, gay people who want to live their lives their way. And the problem with this is as well, it gets tied up with the language of respect. When I criticize Islam, as I criticize Christianity and Judaism and Buddhism, I was even once called fat by the Dalai Lama, I get told, no, you have to respect my beliefs. I respect you as a human being too much to respect your ludicrous superstitions. Another way of delegitimizing criticisms of Islam is to say that these are Western ideas. So I mentioned Bangladesh earlier. I was in Bangladesh earlier this year. In a children's home, I met a 15-year-old girl. She loved to sing. It was the thing she most loved. And when she turned 11, she was told she couldn't sing anymore because she was a girl and it was disgusting for Muslim girls to sing. And she said to me, you know, that just seemed to me really stupid because this God thing just didn't seem right to me. And I thought, even if there was a God, why would he let boys sing and not girls? Now, she thought of that in a village in Bangladesh, all on her own. It had nothing to do with anyone in the West. I've met gay people in Gaza and women in Baghdad who had exactly the same thoughts. It is a natural thing that if you present a preposterous, superstitious piece of nonsense, naturally there'll be a significant number of people who go, what? That's not right. And the only way you stop them is to terrorize them. That's not Western. That's not about Western values versus anti-Western values. If we're talking about culture, whose culture are we talking about? The culture of Zainab, who wanted a divorce in Germany, or the culture of the man who wanted to beat the shit out of her? Now, we have to make a choice about that culture. It's like saying the culture of the Deep South was slavery. Well, there were some people called slaves who didn't think that was their culture, and a lot of people sided with them, and they prevailed.
Yes, so the two groups that suffer the most when Sharia is imposed in Islamic countries are, of course, women and non-Muslim minorities. One notices immediately the impact on groups that are considered no longer Muslim. For example, in Pakistan, the Ahmadiyyas are considered as a group apostates, and their rights are curtailed. In Iran, it's the Baha'is, and also Zoroastrians, a dwindling number of Zoroastrians, and of course Jews and Christians. They all, under Sharia, they have second-class citizenship. In some cases, they would have to pay a tax, a poll tax, and so on. And one notices where it was immediately noticeable, the impact on the lives of women, when Ziaul Haq, the dictator in Pakistan in the 70s, imposed Sharia And within 6 months, the women population of prisons rose by 300%, where men wishing to get rid of their wives just accused them of adultery, and they were put into prison awaiting trial. This was quite flagrant. And as I said, the non-Muslim minorities.
It's become a taboo to insult, to satirize, or to criticize Islam in any way. My own experience internationally in the Human Rights Council shows that not only is it no longer legitimate to criticize Islam, we have been told in the Human Rights Council that we are not to mention Islam. We may not use the word sharia. Now, this is an international forum. This is the leading human rights institution in the world, which has been completely taken over by political Islam. This is a massive, massive threat to liberal democracy.
About Sharia courts, though, I mean, I think we really need to think about what we're going to do about them. I mean, one, are they voluntary? Well, of course not. I mean, if you just look at, you know, they've got 7,000 cases, for example, the Sharia Law Council. As Johann said, a lot of the women who go to them really don't know about the other options, don't have access to the other options. And in fact, the women who are accessing Sharia courts are the women who need a secular court more than anybody else. You know, so the evidence is there because they believe so strongly in their Sharia court that they say the most vile things. We have so much evidence against them. I think we should take them to court. The European courts have already said it's incompatible. I think humanists and seculars should take the Sharia Council to court. I think we can win. This is stuff that they publicize on their website. You know, they've dealt with inheritance. The judge has given the daughters half of what they've given the sons, and that's actually in favor. It's favorable for women. Why? Because the men still have to support women, but the women can spend it on anything they want themselves. They don't have to share the money. This is the logic. On domestic violence, the judges have ordered the husbands to take anger management classes and mentoring from community elders. Outrageous. We would never accept that in domestic violence cases in this country, never. And all of these women have subsequently withdrawn their complaints that they had lodged with the police. An outrage. And you can go on and on. You have cases of child custody. You know, in child custody cases in Britain and in any country with norms that have been fought for, that are pro-children's rights, the child is at the center of the case. It's what's best for the child. You have child custody questions. This is the fatwas they've given on their sites. It's there for everyone. You just type in child custody. Till the age of 7, the mother has the sole right to have custody of the child. If she marries someone who's not related to the child, she loses her right to custody. But, and then he goes on about the son, but if he is above 7, he is in no more need of a woman's care, and he is to be in custody of the father. Well, what if the father is abusive? What if the mother is the best parent for the child? You know, so again, this is the problem. When you put religion first, when you put culture first, and you put human beings last, this is what you get. You get violations of rights, you get discrimination, and I think we need to take them to court. We need to gather information about them so that people feel confident to be able to say, we don't want Sharia in this country. We need to say that opposing Sharia is not racism. It is, in fact, racist to demand backward, medieval laws and rules for people who are living in the 21st century. Many of them people who have fled those very rules and come to Britain to live in a secular society. And finally, we're going to say, we're going to do the same to you as we did in Canada. We were very much part of the No Sharia campaign in Canada. They also said they want equality. And by the way, equality is for people, not for religions and for cultures and beliefs. Get it straight.